Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this Warcraft Rumble dungeon guide, I'm going to take a look at Gnomeregan on a Blackrock week. More specifically, this guide is about Drakkisath with a talented army. First, let's recap the boss mechanics. The first boss, the crowd Pummeler, melee and cannon attacks can knock player units off the platform. So yeah, whenever you engage this in melee, then it's going to spin and any units engaging it are going to be thrown away. And those units, if they're flying units, they can just fly back. But if they are ground units, then if they happen to land on the platform, then yeah, they can go back. But often they are just thrown away from the platform and they are gone. There's also a targeting reticle that's going to move around, and then there's going to be long-range shots, and those also throw your minis away. So pretty annoying boss as such. Then there's two places where the shields spawn, and when there is a shield and you pick that shield up, also bosses minis pick up the shield's node, then when you pick the shield up, you're temporarily immune to the knockback. So this can be useful to get some damage in. But the main strategy I usually use in this one is to try to engage from two directions with ranged minis. So taking this meeting stone is really important so that you can easily engage from two directions and use some unbounds to keep the boss occupied so that the ranged minis can shoot at it. Also, Gargoyle is a unit that can also work because it just flies in and deals some damage to the boss. The boss, in addition to its regular army, also has some bonus save pilots that it's going to throw into the rings. So if you don't pick up the rings really quickly, then some save pilot is going to pick them up. But with some ranged damage dealers from two sides, this shouldn't be too much of a problem. Second boss, Electrocutioner, is generally considered to be the most difficult boss in Gnomeregan. Yeah, this is really annoying. You're going to be swarmed with stuff, and then the towers are rocket towers, so they're going to shoot if you try to go to the mid lane. They're going to have long range all over the place, and there's poisonous fumes near the rocket towers, which will hurt all of your minis, ground and flying. So the key to taking this map is you need to secure a tower real quick. You preferably want to take both towers, although sometimes you can also just do a push from one side. Preferably it's typically the left side because there's a gold vein here, really easily accessible. But it can be either side, and both towers is also a great strategy. But taking a tower real quickly. Traditionally, it's been Sappers, or Meatwagon, or Gargoyle. And I guess Blackrock Week has kind of added Drakkisath with Shaman to make an armored Drakkisath to the list. Or maybe a fire elemental with Shaman. Those kinds of things you can also attempt. But you need to secure at least one tower, because otherwise you're just going to get overwhelmed really quickly. And even if you have secured a tower, then the boss shoots a lot, so a resistant tank definitely helps, or some unbounds to distract the boss's attention and then just try to get to the boss and beat it down. But yeah, even surviving in this one is really, really hard. And finally, the third boss, Mekgineer Thermaplugg, uses Welding Beam to eliminate all nearby units, controls switches to summon walking bombs for big damage. So you cannot damage Thermaplugg directly. Instead, there's going to be these vats that will spawn, 3 on the left side, 3 on the right side, and whoever breaks the vat sends a bomb to the base of the other one. Note also that the boss's minis can hurt your base. So the boss will summon, for example, Molten Giants, and you will need to stop those. You can't hurt the boss, but the Molten Giant can hurt your base. So this is like a game of whack-a-mole. You're going to scroll to the left and to the right and to all sorts of directions. You're going to try to keep minis near these vats at all times so that they can break them instantly. And only ground minis can break them, so flying minis are kind of useless here, other than for killing some Molten Giants. Also, there's 2 gold nodes here, so you can try to mine these as often as possible to keep yourself in good gold supply, and then just keep sending minis on both sides so that you will cover as much ground as possible. You will get to break the vats and the boss will die. And here is the Drakkisath army that I have been using for Gnomeregan. I have Pyromancer, Whelp, Eggs, Shaman, Plague Farmer, Safe Pilot, and a Quill Boar. And for this one, talents are really important, because for example, the Whelp Eggs, they benefit greatly from the Flameburst talent. The Shaman with Earth Shield, the idea for the second map is to use Shaman to give Earth Shield to Drakkisath and heal Drakkisath, so yeah, that's really important as well. And then the Safe Pilot, without a talent, it just doesn't deal enough damage, so either one of the damage talents is really useful here. The other talents are not as important, but those 3 at least are quite important here. So the plan for the first boss is that I'm going to use my ranged damage dealers. I have Pyromancers here, I have Plague Farmers, so I can use lots of these to deal damage to the boss, and then Willbore, Whelpex, and Safe Pilot can be used to distract. Also, while I do some defending. Drakkisath doesn't do much there because Drakkisath, I mean, I do play it occasionally. I like to try, like, maybe Drakkisath can get somewhere, but actually it's just going to be thrown off the map at some point anyway. Then for the second boss, it's Drakkisath with Shaman, so the Drakkisath will be armored and will be healed. That's the main plan, to take the towers, at least one tower, and push at the boss. Depending on the level, you might just be able to take one tower and push immediately at the boss as well. Alternatively, you can try to take towers with the whelp eggs because they explode, and you can use Quillboard to distract and maybe some safe piloting, but Drakkisath is the main plan, whereas Plague Farmer and Pyromancer are used in defensive roles there. And for the third boss, Whelp eggs are the only one that cannot break a vat. Everyone else can, everyone else is a ground unit. Yes, even Safe Pilot is a ground unit, and you can also use the blast from the landing to break some vats. That works fine. Just try to play the cheapest ones out there, mine whenever you can, alternate between sides, and well, that's pretty much all there is to it. And this is what this all looks like in action. So here we go, boss number 1. Drakkisath versus boss number 1. And I like to try to get towards the meeting stone, and I like to try to pick up some of these chests at the start if I can, and also need to pick up those shield rings. I really don't want the enemy to have those shield rings. Here I'm very optimistic, and I'm actually deploying Drakkisath, but yeah, deploying Drakkisath is probably an exercise in futility here. It's really all about those ranged damage dealers coming in from two sides. Maybe even one side would do if you just have enough unbounds to distract. But now we're starting to take that meeting stone. Meeting stone is really important so that I can have the double-sided push, and I also have easy access to the gold veins. So meeting stone about to be taken. Meeting stone is mine. I can start mining. Need to remember to grab the shield so that I don't give them to the opponent. If I can grab the shield on an actually useful unit like this Plague Farmer here, then that's great. This time actually it turns out the shield was picked up by the Safe Pilot, but Safe Pilot is also ranged DPS, so I'm actually not too worried about that. Now it's coming. I allowed it to get a little bit too close there. I should have been faster with the unbounds, and that unbound was also a little bit wasted because I didn't have a DPS ready. But be that as it may, I had enough damage, and first boss is already down. And then comes the second boss. And generally I find that if I'm not able to take a tower pretty quickly, I will get overwhelmed. So first I check, okay, where's the attack coming from? I try to defend a little bit against that. Alright, defense is actually going pretty well here. This attack is not one of the strongest attacks I have seen from this boss, and I even already have tools there, so I choose to go to the other side with Drakkisath. And now we have armored Drakkisath with a shaman covering it. So I'm focusing on the defense, and I trust that Drakkisath and the shaman are going to get through on the other side. I hope so, at least. And this time I got pretty lucky with the way the minis were positioned. Shaman actually survived that, because often Shaman ends up in the poison fumes and dies, but this time positioning was just perfect, and Shaman survived the early hits, and then Shaman died and I had the relic to give Drakkisath Bloodlust, and now I have Bloodlusted, armored and resistant Drakkisath dueling a boss. And yeah, sometimes it also works like this and the second boss is dead. But this is typically very, very hard. And finally, the third boss, the easiest boss of the dungeon. This is just a set of whack-a-mole, and try to keep the ground covered. Slow minis if at all possible, so that you will always be ready to break a vat when you see one. But I have managed to lose this boss too sometimes, and yeah, this isn't starting out great, I can tell you that. The Ogre Mage got another vat broken there. My base is taking a lot of bombs, and now there is also a Molten Giant, and it also gets immediately to breaking stuff. So yeah, life could definitely be a lot better, but we're working on it. Remember, try to mine as much as possible, and here I do make some use of the Whelpex, because the Whelpex, even though they cannot break these vats, then the Whelpex are still capable of especially killing Molten Giants. Molten Giant will break the eggs, and then the whelps will just hit it and it cannot hit back, so that works quite well sometimes. And I lose another one of those, yeah, and another one to that Prowler. this one is it's not going quite as well as I had hoped. Now I also couldn't even place a miner because because there were minis that would have killed the miner instantly. Yeah. One of my weaker attempts, I suppose, at this, but this boss is the easiest. So you have at least 2 attempts here, so you should be able to do it even if you fail once. And now we have Drakkisath at work, but also those prowlers. It's just spamming lots of prowlers this time. I don't remember if it always does that, but now it's definitely on a prowler spree. It's just one prowler after another and they are charging like crazy. Yep. Yeah, that happened. I had queued the safe pilot to where I thought the prowler was going to be, but then the VAT spawned and the prowler stopped, and therefore the prowler both got the VAT and killed my safe pilot. Aha. Well, trying to save that with the Quillbore, but a little bit of bad positioning because the Gnoll has AoE damage. I should have positioned the Quillbore on the other side of the Gnoll, draw it away from the VAT so that it wouldn't break it. And it's just endless spam of prowlers today. Prowler after prowler, and things are getting awkwardly close here. But I managed to take these final VATs in a row, and just enough to win. Oof. And that was a clear of a level 20 dungeon. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.